Hi, welcome to Journeys with Jeff. And I want to first start off by thanking so many of you. Um, the list is too long for me to go down. I got a written down over here. Uh, that show that I did about where I read some passages, Toynbee and Ferlinghetti and Tom Robbins, and the Psalm from Psalm 73 from the Bible. Um, we were just flooded with phone calls of people saying it's some of the best video they've ever heard or seen because it really was they found it very thought provoking, very touching. And I want to thank all of you people for taking the time to let us know about that. And also, in another one or two shows going forward, I'm going to read some more poetry because I think people find it very uplifting and very meaningful and very wholesome in contrast to a lot of stuff that's on the media these days. So I want to thank all of you for your phone calls and your emails and the time you took to give me the feedback. It's very gratifying and I appreciate it. We have a great, very interesting guest today. Her name is Lorna Quiros. And actually, we just met not more than really matter of minutes ago. She's given me a quick overview of her life. As always, I've never met a person in my life who, once you sit down and talk for more than 3 minutes, they don't have an interesting story to tell. And Lorna is no exception. Lorna Quiros, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And you were, just let's start off from the beginning. Where were you born?
Yeah, I was born in Salinas, Puerto Rico.
Salinas.
Salinas, yes, that's in the south of the island. You know, Puerto Rico is an island.
Is that near La Paguera, Oaxaca?
La Palguera, Guanica, yes, it's on the south.
Yeah.
Yes, La Palguera is on the southwest. Yes, yeah. You pass Salinas, Santa Isabel, Ponce. Then after Ponce, yes.
I like that.
Chalco.
That fire station in Ponce.
Yes, yes.
That red and black
Yeah.
brick building.
Still there.
It's still there.
Still there, yes.
And then right up the street to Town Square, all day long. There's guys, how do you say it? The old guys. What's the word for the old guys? Guillermos? No. They're playing dominoes.
Domino, yes. They play
dominoes all day, and
we have the church on the same plaza. That's a big plaza in Ponce.
Yeah.
And the best thing is they have across from the bomberos, it is a ice cream place, shop.
Boy. Yeah.
And it's been there for years. Those are natural ice cream.
Yeah.
And every time I go to Puerto Rico, so I have to go there.
I bet you, yeah.
Yes, because it's delicious.
Well, you grew up there.
I grew up in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
I went to the same town. I come from a small town, Coqui, called Coqui.
Yeah.
It's part of Salinas, and I grew up there, and I went to the elementary school and middle school over there, Segunda Unidad Coqui, and the middle school. And then from there, because we didn't have a high school in town, so I had to go to the town Salinas to go to the high school. So then from there, I graduated from high school, and then I went to Universidad Católica of Ponce, Catholic University of Ponce, and I did my bachelor degree.
What did you get your degree in?
I got my degree in social studies.
Ah.
Yes. So then from there, because it was, a small island, a small town, it was difficult for me to get a job, the kind of job that I wanted, that I studied for. So then in 1982, I migrated to the United States, to New York.
And how was you must have come, your English probably, you had spoken Spanish all the time.
Exactly, it was very poor. Yes, very poor. It was, in the beginning it was difficult because you know, even though in Puerto Rico you study English for 12 years, but it's not the same. When you come to the United States, then you need to learn to adapt your ear to listen to the people, you know, when they talk to you. And then I remember when at the airport, I was waiting for my brother to pick me up, and people approached me and they would talk to me in English, and I said, oh my God, you know, it was so difficult. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I felt embarrassed, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I said, no, you know, that's something I need to get used to and to learn more. And I did it, you know. I didn't stop there. I started going to school in New York, you know, to prepare myself.
What was it that motivated you? What is it that you were trying to accomplish? What did you want to, what kind of a job did you want to get?
The job that I want to get was working with people. I'm a people person, and I like to help people. That's something I always like to do. And that was the kind of job that I was trying to get and accomplish, you know. And I did it, you know, I did it.
And meanwhile, had you married or had any kids?
Yes, I got married. I have 2 children.
So you were also raising children where you and studying and looking for.
Exactly. I study and I started learning. You know how I learned how to speak English. Sometimes you say, oh, you go to school, you know, English as second language, but no, I didn't learn like that. What I did, I started listening to music in English, soft music. I remember those Walkman at that time.
With the earphones.
Yeah, earphone. Because I got a job. I went to this school to learn how to speak English, and at the same time, they offered me a training on computers, and I took the training. So that helped me to find a job in computers. And what helped me was my skills, because the English, you know, was very poor, but I learned at the same time, you know, I learned how to speak English and I had some skills. But I wanted to be fluent in English, understand everybody that talked to me. So that's how I started listening to English music, soft music, and I would write it. I remember taking the train, going on the bus, and I had my notebook, and writing. That's how I educated myself on learning how to speak English.
And you were living in New York City.
Exactly. I was living in New York City. And then from there, you know, I decided to have my children. I had my daughter first. And right now she's 36 years old. And, you know, God gave me a nice present because she's a person with disability. And from there, it never stopped me. You know, I continue learning about it. I continue about life. I continue working. Then I decided to have my son. My son now is 30 years old, and he's a Marine. He's a United States Marine.
And where does he live? He lives.
Right now he's in Florida. He already finished his 4 years as a Marine.
And your daughter lives with.
She lives with me.
She lives with you.
Correct. Yes. You know, and I continue work. I'm from New Jersey, because they were born in New Jersey, Jersey City, New Jersey. Then I decided to move to Connecticut, and I stationed in Hartford.
What brought you to Hartford? Did you have a job offer to move here?
No, I wanted to change life. You know, looking for the best for me and my children.
So
Yes.
had you heard about Connecticut and Hartford?
Yes,
did
I
you hear
heard
some
about from a friend.
Good things about.
From a friend, you know, that she lived in Hartford, there are more opportunities, because I wanted to improve my life and my children. So I decided that she lived in Hartford, my friend, and then she said, oh, let's go to Hartford. There is a lot of opportunities, you know, Connecticut. So that's how it brought me here to Connecticut. And from there, I started, you know, I waited for my son to go to school. She started going to the Head Start program in Hartford. And I started looking for a job. And I got a job first was with a nonprofit agency, helping people with disabilities. And then from there, that was in the 90s. From there, I applied for a state job in the state of Connecticut. And I got my job until I retired in 2017. I've been retired, and then I'm enjoying now, I got a part-time job because I said, oh my God, it was so many years working, and I felt like I was walking on the air. Something was missing, and I said, no, I had to do something about it. So I have a part-time job now.
Yeah, it's hard for a person to just retire. I've seen so many people, when I retired from teaching, came back and for a few years I was part-time tutoring and
Right.
working in Hartford and with other schools and stuff. It's just hard to quit cold
Yes.
turkey sometimes.
Yes, it is.
You
It
know?
is. It is. Yeah. Even though as I mentioned to you earlier, I like to help people. I have friends, and so I used to take them, places, or I want to go to this place. I want to go. Okay, let's go. Take the car and we go. And then, but I continue doing that, helping people. And then, then I said, okay, I need to get a job. I had that need, yes. And I've been working, successfully. It's just a part-time job to keep me busy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, what would? It sounds like you've had a lot of experiences. Puerto Rico, college,
Yes.
raising kids, moving around and working in Hartford. What would you say are some of the couple of the biggest lessons that life has taught you?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
What would you say are some of the most important lessons that you've learned in your life about yourself or about people, about life in general?
Yeah, it helped me to grow, knowing, coming from a small town, that everybody get to know together. It was very caring, a lot of love. I was raised there, and then living that small town, getting to know the world. And it taught me that even though we are humans, people are different, people have different experiences, people have a lot of, different backgrounds, and that taking a little bit from my town, migrating to the United States, a completely different world, coming to the United States, it helped me to grow, to make my life happy, let's say this, to love more people, to get to know that people, even though they have differences, but we come from the same background.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the experiences. We all have had different experiences, and a lot of times our behavior and our decisions, our viewpoints are based on our experiences. I can't tell you how many times I've heard
Yes.
people say, well, and I catch myself, well, that's the way I was raised, or that's what I was taught. And but what you're saying is, are you saying that even though we all have our own experiences, in order to relate to each other in a deeper, more loving way, you have to kind of step outside of your own experiences and maybe put yourself in their place?
In their place, in their shoes. No, you could do that, or put yourself on my place, my shoes. Let's
In
say
your shoes,
on my
yeah.
shoes.
Walk a
Yes,
mile in
walk
my-
by me.
my shoes.
Because if you see somebody on the street, like we were talking earlier, on the street, they don't have anything, they asking for money, poor person, you don't know what's going on in their life. instead of judging them, why don't you ask, what can I do for you? How can I help you? You see, that's a more compassionate way. Don't judge, because you don't know if tomorrow you're going to be that person.
Yeah.
Instead of judging, just think about that. Is that could be me? Is that could be one of my children? Is that could be a family member, a friend that I love? Show that love, because I think that when some people judge others, it's because you're reflecting who you are on that person. You see?
Right.
That's how I see
You're
it.
unconsciously
Unconsciously.
you're seeing something inside yourself
That
maybe that you don't want to look at, and you're
Exactly.
putting it onto them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
I think people, we have a tendency to do that, and to recognize that, to acknowledge that, is the first step in maybe transcending that. The first step is to obviously is to say, yes, I do tend to be judgmental. I do tend to look at people who are different than I am, and I've been taught to be angry at them or to hate them. But I also feel that engaging people, interacting with people with a heart that is hateful and angry is really not. It's not really what a person should do in life. I mean, even the great religious people. You went to Catholic university. The Christian leaders, the Jewish leaders, the Muslim, the Buddhist, the Hindu. All of them have one thing in common. I think they all say, don't look at people judgmentally. Don't judge people.
Exactly.
You use compassion, but in order to do that, sometimes you have to look at your own self, and you have to agree that a world that is less judgmental and more compassionate and more loving and more sharing is probably better than a world that's filled with racism
Exactly.
and with separation
Exactly.
and with anger and with hate. And so many voices out there are causing people to they're causing these feelings to rise up. And but what you're saying, Lorna, is that you've learned that there's a better way to live life in terms of your relationship with other people.
Exactly. Yes, and love. Love. Love is the big word here, the main word here. Love. If you love yourself, you're gonna love all the others. You need to love. If you look at your mirror, young child, young adult, elderly, it doesn't matter. Just love yourself. Look at yourself, accept yourself the way you are. If you accept yourself the way you are, you love yourself, you're going to love other people.
Yeah.
I had, as I mentioned, I have my daughter. My daughter has intellectual disabilities, and she uses a wheelchair.
And this is your first child?
My
you said?
first child.
The one is 36?
She's 36 years old.
And she lives with you.
She lives in my house.
And she has
physical disability, and she has intellectual disabilities. And she's the most happiest young lady in the whole world.
What do you suppose is the reason that she's so happy?
Because I love her.
Ah.
I gave her a lot of love.
That's beautiful. That makes me want to cry.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Because I love my daughter. And when you love somebody, you try to give the best to that person. That's how it is, my house is accessible. I have transportation for her, something that I did it myself. Why? Because I love my daughter. You know, we travel. We went on a cruise. We go everywhere together. We go
Wow.
to church. We go to Puerto Rico. We go and visit my son. We travel. We do all like anybody else will do it. Why? Because I love my daughter. You know, and what can I say? You know, I
The
don't have
love
any
is
complaint.
it seems like it all boils down to that word.
Yeah.
What do you think? What is more powerful, the power of love or the power of hate?
The power of love. Because if you love, you don't hate. Even though the person that commit a crime or to you, to your family, you know, to hurt you, if you love, if you have a lot of love in your heart, you forgive that person.
Well, yes, as opposed to there are a lot of people, and again, you know, I don't separate myself from the rest of the human race. I have my shortcomings. I have my faults, plenty of them, and but I think that to see a person with love, with more love, you know, to be able to forgive. And there are a lot of people who they'll justify they'll justify their racism or their hatred or their persecution of other people. They'll justify it, you know, by saying, well, you know, they do, you know, that group or that person, they deserve it, you know, because they're whatever, you know, fill in the blank. There's so many reasons, but I guess that, again, going back to a lot of the religious leaders, they keep talking about forgiving and loving your brother. I think Jesus said, "What you do to the least of my brothers, you do to me."
That's right.
I mean, Jesus walked, when he was walking the earth, he wore rags and he was working with poor people.
Yeah.
And the Buddha left a princely mansion, temple in northern India, and went out into the world and with a bowl begging for food, seeing that it's important to,
Yep.
you know, love other people and not judge them.
Exactly.
So
'Cause who am I to judge you? Who am I?
I think it was a few years ago. Didn't the Pope? Was it Pope Francis? Didn't one of the popes say, "Who am I to judge"? I think it was one of the.
Francis.
Is
I think
who's the Pope today? Who's the Pope now? I forget.
Francis.
Didn't he say when he first? I forget what he was referring to. I don't know what he was referring to, but there was some issue. I don't know whether it was gay marriage or I don't know what it was, but there was some issue that was very controversial, and he was asked his opinion, and he said, "Who am I to judge?" I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I say the same thing. You know, who am I to judge you? You know, I'm nobody.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have a lot of love in my heart.
Well, you've read. I'm sure you've probably read, well, to get your degree, and you know you've probably done a lot of studying and reading and stuff. If somebody asked you to recommend one book for them to read, they could only read one more book, what would you recommend?
The Bible.
You'd recommend the Bible.
The Bible.
Because
Because it's going to tell about the history, and it talks about love, about who we are, where we came from.
So do you think, what do you think is more important, no matter what the religion is, every religion has they all have some sort of a story, like
Yeah,
the virgin birth or the parting of the Red Sea or, the burning bush. They all have different mythologies and
yeah,
and so on. And they also all have their moral and ethical values that they try to share with. Which do you think is more important for a person to concentrate on as they study a religion? The story or the moral and ethical values that religion's trying to put across?
the ethical values.
The ethical values.
Yes,
Yeah,
so it is important. Yes,
yeah. Wow.
Gonna teach you about life. Yeah.
And what are it sounds to me like you've finished a career and you're still with your daughter. What are we have a few more minutes to go and then we have to say goodbye. But what are your plans? Do you have any plans for the near future? The things some goals or projects or things you want to try to accomplish?
Now with the virus, we had some goals that we had to put on hold, because of the virus, because we want to travel. We're going to travel, we're going to go in cruises. But right now, what we're doing, we're studying the Bible, because I come from the Catholic Church.
Uh-huh.
I'm from the Catholic Church, and we are studying the Bible, and we are going, especially with, Virgin Mary. We are doing the consecration to Virgin Mary.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and we're almost done. We're going to be consecrated this Sunday, finally after 33 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
What church do you go to?
We go to Maria Reina de la Paz in Hartford.
And
Yes.
your daughter goes to?
Yeah, exactly.
How does she, do you have
They have a ramp.
a ramp that she?
Yes, oh yes, yeah, they have a ramp. It's a beautiful church, and everybody, that community is there. It's our family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's our family. Yes.
Yeah.
It's very, very caring, lovable. Yes.
Wow. Well, Lorna Quiros, we have to say goodbye for now, but I want to thank you immensely for sharing your story. And I like to think that in a selfish way, when I hear a person's story, I've never talked to anybody, including you, where I haven't learned something. You've taught me, or if I've learned it before, sometimes we forget. We have to be reminded. Sometimes we have to be reminded, and you've reminded me that that love and compassion and caring and sharing with others is such an important thing in life.
Yes.
You've shown it. You've done it with your children. You've done it with your workers. You've done it with your friends, and you've done it with people. And I want to thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you all very much for another, hopefully what you find to be another very, very meaningful, touching account of yet another person's journey through this phenomena that we call life. Thank you very much. Take care.